Welcome again, everyone, and appreciate you all joining from different parts of the world at odd hours as well. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are. Today's topic is, codeless test automation, and it's a short and quick webinar. Really, the idea is to keep it tool agnostic. This field has been around for 20 plus years, but only in the last few years you all will agree that we've really seen a lot of action in terms of the adoption to test automation and how critical it's becoming in aligning your development practices with CI/CD and really bringing that continuous testing to speed up your releases, right? And there are lots of players in this space, as well as there are a lot of different kind of philosophies in terms of what is the right approach for each different organization and different scenarios, different technology stacks. So we'll try to kind of go about it in an objective manner so that we can kind of share our perspective. We'll also in the process give you a little bit of sneak peek into how Axel Q's philosophy around this topic works, right? But for more so, we'll kind of go more into the core concepts of how to choose the right tool, pretty much, right? And how to look at codeless test automation, which something which can be a winner for you, as opposed to something that can that ties you down in terms of the flexibility, right? So let's get started. Like Ranjani said, we're gonna take a break for questions. So feel free to submit your questions as we go along. Yeah. So let's get right to it. The first thing, like I mentioned, the biggest dilemma, whichever end of the spectrum you lie in, as in your thought process around test automation, right? If you think about two ends of the spectrum, right? One end of the spectrum is custom framework driven automation with, which obviously is code based, regardless of whether it's Java or any kind of scripting language or what have you, right? And the other end of the spectrum is kind of those record and playback type tools, which honestly have been around, like I said, for 20 plus years. I mean, they used to work great at one point in time when our applications were simpler, when our application layers were simpler, when there was not as much dynamic behavior in our applications, and technology stacks were kind of not changing as fast as they are today, right? And then obviously the other end of spectrum is the custom framework, which I'm a fan of open source, but obviously that comes with its own overhead, right? And we'll get into it, right? So what does really codeless test automation mean? You must have heard about scriptless test automation, which was probably one of the things which which was again released maybe many years ago, right? But we all also know that just doesn't work in terms of kind of the behavior and the nature of our applications and the speed at which we want our test automation to get aligned with, right? So what is the sweet spot, right? How do you know, and how do you go about assessing what do you really need in your codeless test automation tool, right? So let's kind of go one step further, right? On and quickly look at kind of the two ends of the spectrum, right? So one being your custom frameworks. Obviously we all love the power and the flexibility that a custom framework would give you, right? In terms of adopting your test automation to your technology stack, right? And seemingly it may seem a lot more lucrative to get into an open source because you don't have to sign up for a license or a commercial tool, right? But in the last 5 years, the onset of such custom frameworks, may it be Protractor, Robot, your own page model framework, or may it be some of the open source ready to go frameworks which are out there, what has shown time and again with pretty much every organization out there is you're going to hit a wall pretty soon. That first script to automate will seem very easy, right? And seem like, oh, this is the way to go. But the development and maintenance of those frameworks just drags that ROI down, right? You need to hire an army of developers. The custom extensions come into play, you know, the moment you get into kind of, you know, the shadow DOMs or the iframes of the world, or, you know, the changing technology, right, landscape, then you have to write multiple frameworks. It's not just about the design framework. You have to write multiple frameworks to manage those test assets, to manage the change impact of them, to manage the traceability around them, to see you know, a report which can be easily consumed by your developers to, at the end of the day, recreate those defects. So, you know, you're talking about many levels of frameworks and handoffs. And as you can imagine, you're gonna, sooner or later, you're gonna run into scalability challenges, right? And you know, obviously the adoption at the end of the day, and alignment with your CI/CD is gonna take a beating, right? So custom frameworks, you know, obviously come kind of with their own significant overhead. While the other end of the spectrum, like we're talking about, right, your perception, and rightly so, right, because that's pretty much how this field has evolved, right, is you know, those are too superficial. The recording based, you know, quote unquote scriptless or you know, seemingly codeless tools, right, you know, are just too superficial. They kind of lack that modularity, that reusability. They lack the core concept of design, right? It's really hard with those tools to kind of do any kind of real world automation, right? And the moment it, you know, it comes to kind of dynamic objects, which is the reality of pretty much every application today, you know, it almost becomes impossible to deal with such kind of, you know, shallow, so to say, approaches, right, of recording or IDE based recording or so on, right? And they're just not aligned with kind of the modern software delivery practices, right, in terms of being able to shift left and do in-sprint automation and so on, right? And at the end of the day, they've been proven to have not kind of a sustainable you know, outcome, right? So most of those scripts, you know, bottom line is it kind of becomes a throwaway, right? So, you know, again, so, you know, what is the sweet spot, right? So that's pretty much you know, what we're going to get into in the rest of the webinar, right? That how can you hit that sweet spot, right, where you can get the best of the both worlds, right? And how can your codeless be more intelligent than just, you know, for lack of better words, a dumb recording, right? So, you know, what are the key components, right, that can make your codeless intelligent, right? So let's, you know, I'm going to cover, you know, there are a lot of components there in play, right? But I'm going to cover kind of the top 6 aspects of what can really make your codeless intelligent, right? I'm going to take a break in another few minutes for questions. I see some questions coming in. So, you know, let me kind of get started with a couple, and then we'll take a quick break with questions. So feel free, you know, I can see them coming in. So, you know, keep them coming. So let's, you know, let's look at kind of, you know, some of the key aspects, right? What can make your codeless more intelligent, right? So, you know, the first thing is we need to have, right, whenever you're looking out for a codeless automation, you know, approach or a solution, right? Obviously, we would want you to look at AxleQ, but you know, I do want to kind of, you know, mention that, you know, let's look at it a little bit more objectively, right? You may have various needs in terms of what your technology stack is, but at the end of the day, right, you need your codeless automation platform to be a lot more expressive than just limiting it to recording, right? Basically, what that means is you need to have flexibility with your recording, right? But that flexibility doesn't mean it should go into a programming based flexibility, because honestly, that would defeat the purpose, right? And traditional tools and a lot of tools that are coming out in the market today, you know, offer that, but they quickly get into scripting and programming to complement that recording, which again is actually worse than going completely custom. If that's the route you would want to go, I would suggest just go completely custom, because at least you will have, you know, full control over what you're doing, right? So, you know, again, the sweet spot we were talking about, right? The sweet spot is something that again, does not come with any programming, any level of syntax, no matter how complex your automation gets, right? And it's more focused kind of from a business rule validation standpoint, as opposed to kind of, technical approach, right? So something that's a lot more expressive, right? So that even your non-technical persona of testers who have testing background are able to kind of, get into more real world logic development for your automation, because that's the real world automation which is needed, right? It's not just clicking and filling forms and doing certain basic validations. It's really about testing against an expected outcome, right? And that would involve writing conditional logic, and it has to be technology agnostic, right? In today's world, our application crosses all kinds of technology boundaries, right? So it has to be technology agnostic, right? So to give you a very quick sneak peek into kind of how AxleQ has gone about it is, if I jump into and if you don't know AxleQ, we are a cloud-based codeless automation platform which kind of combines API, UI, database, all kinds of test automation kind of baked into a test management and a governance platform. So it's a full-blown kind of a quality lifecycle automation platform, right? So let's get into a quick kind of editor, right? So if I show you one of the logics right here, right? So let's, it's a collaborative platform, so you need to obviously you can have complete version control, check and checkouts and all of that, right? So this is kind of how AxleQ's view of that expressive sweet spot is, in terms of bringing both best of both worlds together, right? So you record your automation pretty much by right clicking kind of and recording through as your primary logic goes, and then it's complemented by let's suppose I need to do something more complex, like a like a conditional validation, or a PDF test that needs to be performed as part of the application, or so on, right? So this this logic editor kind of brings that expressive behavior, and that's how AxleQ has kind of implemented this specific concept to still keep your logic development codeless, but at the same time give complete power and flexibility, which the other end of the spectrum gives, right? So let's keep moving, right? One of the most important and core concepts in automation to make it more robust and really just like how you go about designing your own application architecture is to have the right design patterns, right? And that's one of the key reasons why we saw an adoption across so much of open source, right? Because at the end of the day, pretty much all commercial tools out there fail to give you that modular and that reusable framework. And if you think about it, it defeats the purpose if you sign up for a commercial tool and then you have to write frameworks to write a quote unquote reusable library. I mean, what's the point of signing up for a tool, right? You might as well create your own custom framework and go about it, right? And that's exactly why you need to really focus on does that codeless approach, does that codeless automation tool bring you the level of modularity, the level of reusability, right, with a design first approach, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make your automation lower maintenance and sustainable. And as you all know, that's where the rubber hits the road, right? But while doing that, can we keep the whole approach, again, minus the overheads of developing and maintaining that framework? And more importantly, can those test assets relate directly back to the business processes, right? Without having this whole automation and this framework kind of be a black box repository, so to say, right? So the focus is more on your application flow as opposed to technical objects and technical framework, and basically, writing a parallel, code base to your application, which basically tests your application code, right? So again, it kind of is counterintuitive, right? So again, I'll give you a quick sneak peek into kind of how AxleQ has implemented this concept, right? So if you've seen AxleQ, then you will know kind of this flagship universe of AxleQ, right? So it's a model-based design first approach into automation, right? So basically what that translates to is it inherently brings that modularity by taking a design first approach, right? So this universe literally represents kind of your flow, application flow. So as you define behaviors, right, the universe pretty much starts defining this blueprint or this map of your application, right? And as more and more behaviors get defined, or more and more test cases get defined, each page gets the intelligence of what are the actions that the users are performing on the page, right? What are the different objects on that page that have been centralized, right? And all of these automatically go and link out to your test cases, right? What that means translates to is really simple, that if this page changes, I don't need to worry what objects have changed, and downstream what actions get impacted, and then in turn what hundreds of tests are going to get impacted, right? It's going to take care of it based on right, based on what the referential integrities are, right? So in fact, when I click on a test case, see how the universe filters down, it actually shows me the workflow. So it's directly related to your business process, and more importantly, it is inherently giving you that modularity, right? Again, I want to focus less on the Axle Q aspect, but want to give you a sneak peek into kind of how our world view of this modularity works on, right? And then obviously there is a lot more depth to it, but we'll be happy to kind of walk you through that Axle Q process in a separate webinar, right? Let's keep moving, right? So this is from expressive and that flexible design to kind of having that modularity in place, so that it brings you kind of all the core concepts, for instance, of behavioral driven design, right? Modular design, right? Abstraction, right? So we've a unique example into this is Axle Q has brought on a very unique concept called functional virtualization, which means you can practically start creating this universe and your business flows, right, just in parallel to your user story, and as your application starts coming to life, right? Which means I can abstract within the sprint, right, my complete flow, the moment my story comes to life, and as my application is getting developed, I can actually have a practical way to implement that test driven development, which has always been talked about but so hard to implement, right? And at the same time, I don't have to worry. So many times you must have heard, right, that hey, let's not invest too soon in automation, because if my application's changing, right, I'll have to do a whole lot of rework, right? So we've kind of taken that complete overhead away, right, and rather made that as more of a power back to you, as opposed to kind of something that you need to worry about in terms of automation maintenance, right? So let's cover one more, and then I'll take a quick break, kind of with questions, right? The third more, the third aspect of kind of of looking into a codeless solution and assessing this would be kind of related to how comprehensive that expressive build is, right? Our technology landscape is changing so rapidly, right? Today it's Angular 3, it's Angular 5, right? You have, just when we thought iframes are done and over with, right? You see iframes in all packaged applications, right? Maybe, Salesforce, Pega, Dynamic CRM of the world, SAP Fury or what have you, right? I mean, they're all over, right? With Salesforce, they have some certain unique kind of lightning web components, with SAP, it comes kind of with its own complexity, maybe SAP GUI or Oracle EBS, which still has, so much legacy kind of Java forms, right? What have you, right? So, your codeless solution has to be able to seamlessly work across this technology stack, and the object handling has to be dynamic, right? So many approaches out there, which when it comes to codeless solutions, and the reasons your perception, which was rightly so, that these recording type tools won't be able to handle that dynamic nature of my application, right? That's probably the thought which everyone has in their minds, right? So whatever tool you choose has to be able to seamlessly handle that dynamic aspect, right? And it should not just be limited to web, right? It has to go, because that's the reality of our end-to-end process validation. It can start off at a desktop application, go to a legacy mainframe green screen application, to a microservices, to a web, to what have you, right? And then within the web, it could be a certain niche high charts that you're using, to showcase certain reports, or a dynamic grid or what have you, right? And it's not just about object handling. The logic that you use to data drive your test has to be tightly coupled to that object handling, right? So many times we see that, yeah, we can handle these objects with certain algorithms, but it's not just about handling objects. The tool should have the capability and the depth to couple that logic, because at the end of the day, you want to minimize the logic and the code, right, that you write, right? So, to give you a very quick view into kind of, how AxleQ has implemented this is, let's again go into one of the scenarios, right? And let me show you a little bit more complex one, right? So you can probably relate to it a little bit better, right? So if I open, one of the complex pages, you can imagine, right? When you search for a flight, maybe not in these days, right? Or if you search for, anything that's dynamic on your application, right? It's constantly changing. Every time I refresh, it would likely change in terms of the availability, the number of seats, the number of options available, in terms of different kind of class or what have you, right? So to have that depth of reading through the application through kind of through the dynamic nature. For instance, I pulled up another example. If you search for a branch near you, right, it's going to give you a list of branches, and that can change dynamically. So AxleQ has pretty uniquely implemented an AI based algorithm to be able to deal with dynamic nature of that of your applications, right? And kind of work this seamlessly no matter what the technology stack is, right? So this could be kind of from iframe to Angular to to Bootstrap to what have you, right? So to be able to do that without kind of writing any custom XPaths and codes and so on, right? And then the logic, being able to handle kind of that logic in simple English statements, right? So locating a dynamic result more from a business standpoint, as opposed to writing, kind of iterating through and writing many lines of code and so on, right? So again, coupling that expressive nature of your approach to handling of the dynamic objects and the elements kind of in the same flow, right? I know we've kind of gone way past our halfway mark, so Ranjani, let's take a quick break on questions, and then we'll keep going.
Absolutely. So I think the first question, we have a few here. What are you currently showing on the screen here? Actually, I think we passed that point. I think it was an earlier question. Yes.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of the logic editor, right? And this allows you to automate through not just your web. You can kind of pretty much do your API testing. I start typing database. You can do your database testing. Let's suppose I need to get into file validations, right? You need to do an email validation, right? So the logic editor kind of complements your recording to go across technology stack. It can even handle something as complex as, for instance, mainframe, or let's suppose I want to do desktop level validation. So you can cross your technology stack pretty much seamlessly.
Got it.
Anything else?
Yeah. So how does AxleQ handle non-web automation like files, database, message queues?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and actually that leads me to one of the next things that I wanted to quickly also cover. So I'll cover this, and then we'll take more questions, Ranjani. So that's exactly what actually the next point is, right? So it's a great question, that the real world is made of your microservices, to your messaging queues, to your enterprise service bus, to your UI, to your other applications, right? And like I was showing, the way AxleQ handles it is actually not just the technology stack that's limited to our supportability, but there is a concept of user extension, and that's kind of where I mentioned that our alignment with kind of the open source and our alignment with kind of community driven expansion, as opposed to a commercial tool vendor trying to limit what you can really do in terms of the flexibility you need, right? So the way AxleQ implements it is through an extension concept where community is also helping it extend, right? So if you go to academy.axleq.com, right, you'll be able to see that the community is constantly kind of expanding, Axle Q's technology stack, right? So, if you go, through the marketplace, you'll see, PDF testing, XML testing, file validations, RabbitMQ, Azure MQ. It's constantly getting expanded. So to extend that and then to bring the whole test team still on this natural language, no programming interface is really the key, right? So to really be able to have a solution that can kind of handle both, your both worlds, right, in terms of expansion as well as your technology stack.
Great.
Hopefully that answers.
Thank
Anything
you.
else?
Yes, and we only have a few more minutes. So do you want to answer this? We have another question that I can present, but we have a few more minutes, so I don't want to go over time.
Okay, sure. So we'll get back to you with the pending questions, with an email and reach out. But let me just wrap it up. We only have a couple points to go, anyways, right? So after all said and done, you also want to make sure, why are you making all of that effort to do your to write your test assets, right? At the end of the day, you want it to be manageable. You want to quickly know for an upcoming release what I should be testing. Right. So that's kind of where, again, Axle Q has completely taken a different view, right? So if you look at the universe, right, you can run path analysis on these universes, right? What that really translates to is, you can create test suites that are more intelligent, may it be risk-based, may it be path analysis based, may it be parameter-based, module-based, right? To be able to create those smart test plans and then be able to really assess kind of where do you stand in current situation? Are you moving in the right direction? To have a trend in place, to see what are your open defects, to see really, is your testing effort going in alignment with what decisions you need to make for an upcoming release, right? Are you at the right quality to do your releases in a timely fashion, right? So to have that life cycle approach without, if you think about it traditionally, those two things have always been decoupled in the world. There is an ALM and then there is automation execution. And unfortunately, these two have always lived in two different worlds. So, to have a solution that really kind of brings both of them in one simple, seamless manner, as opposed to having these handoffs, right? The last thing I think I already covered, extendability, right? So regardless of whether, it's web, mobile, API, database, mainframe, to be able to kind of seamlessly work through across this without writing custom frameworks and kind of, extendability code or wrappers around, handing it over from, for instance, from Ready API to a Selenium to a Cucumber to what have you, right? No matter how good that framework you write, it's gonna leak through and it's gonna bring in inefficiencies, and you're gonna end up hiring, looking for very, very unique skill set. And as you hand over these things, it's going to become a nightmare to maintain, right? So it's really important to look at a solution that can kind of handle all of that in one single seamless flow, right? And that's pretty much, what I wanted to cover. We'll be happy to sign you up for a trial, right? Just go on axleq.com or reply back to your webinar invite, and we'll be happy to sign up for a trial. I mean, you can see in the short time we've been around, we've made a huge impact in this space and we've jumped to the leadership position, and we'll be happy to have you experience kind of the depth of capabilities and how Axle Q's intelligent codeless works, right? And basically, give it a try on your own application to see what value it can bring to your organization. And that was pretty much it. I want to be respectful of everyone's time.